Hello, my name is Rich Howard, owner of Architectural Builder Supply. This video we're going to show you the major HIT-41HS2. This is a router template for the HES 5700 and the RF5010-EA electric strikes. And this is a jig template fixture. It's an installation aid is really what it is. And what it really is some machined pieces of aluminum that are mechanically fastened together. But what it actually is a way that will allow you to very cleanly, predictably, reliably, dependably, and accurately prep most likely a frame, but it could be in the edge of an inactive door as well, for one of those electric strikes is what it is. Some basic dimensional properties. It weighs 1.62 pound, by the way. That's pretty heavy for just blocks of aluminum. Overall height about 10 7/8. The face of the frame leg just shy on 2 inch. The door portion looks like it's closer to about 2.5. The back side of it here, this is going to have some holes with some drill bushings in it. We'll describe what that is for in a moment. And the size of this prep, the actual, if you put a tape measure or a caliper and measured all of this, it's directly related, absolutely directly related to what you need to achieve based on the hardware that's being installed, 1, 2, the outside diameter of the router guide, and 3, the diameter of the router bit. And Major tells us what to use, so you don't have to worry about how you get to that end result, because they just tell us what's needed. So let's switch to the next portion of this video and talk specifically about what this is used for. If you are enjoying this video, please click thumbs up or like, and also please consider subscribing to our channel. Let's move on to the rest of the video. So if you're in the door and hardware business, or if you are a locksmith, or you're an integrator, or you're a field tech, or you are an installer or a carpenter, we have all seen butcher jobs. And I saw one a couple of weeks ago. The client ordered a template. It wasn't this exact model. I think it was for an Adams Right strike, a major template for an Adams Right strike. And the photo that was sent was a absolute butcher job. It was so bad in terms of, it's as if you tried to freehand a router cut a jam, like you tried to freehand it. It was so bad that the client had to order a new electric strike. It was Adams Right, now that I recall. They make the 7100 series, but they make them with a 4 7/8 tall faceplate, and then they make it with a taller faceplate. And he literally had to order a new faceplate so that he could re-mortise all of that. And this helps you get away from all of that action in terms of it looking awful. Major has a series of these templates for different electric strikes, and what makes them all different is the size that you're going to need that's going to be in here. There's also a couple of etched lines that are here as well. We're going to show you what those are for in addition to going over the rest of it. When we switch to the screen view, we're going to look at some templates for this material. You're going to get exhaustive installation instructions. We're going to go over that page by page. And then you're going to get these fasteners. And these fasteners serve a couple of purposes. A, they allow you to attach the fixture to the frame or the door. And then they give you a location by which to prep the door or the frame for the mounting tabs of the electric strike, which either Major sells or you already have them, whatever the case might be. But we'll have to confirm the 4 holes. You know, do you use both of them, top and bottom, or just one, etc. So for the HES 5700 and RF5010-EA template with the 503 faceplate option, you'll know that this is the right one if you've got a faceplate that's 1.25 inches by 6 7/8 tall. Now that's an awfully well, 6 7/8 is a common height when it comes to aluminum storefront. Adams Right typical 4510, they're 6 7/8 tall. You'll notice that this is about just heavy on 7 inch. It's really about 7 1/16. And by that same logic, this ought to be about 1 7/16. Yeah, looks pretty close to that. Like a 30-second under it. The strikes that you're prepping for are going to have the needed prep on the face to allow the keeper to move, is what that is going to be for. And this is in a black anodized finish. So the extended description tells us that this is also for radiused or rounded corners. They don't have to stay that way. If you were doing a square corner that had the same 6 7/8 by 1 inch prep, you'd be okay. You'll just file out the corners or grind the faceplate into a radius. The larger faceplate that comes with these types of strikes covers the long opening left by a dead bolt strike. So what that line in the extended description means is it's very typical where someone has a deadbolt on aluminum storefront. Okay, well, they want to have access control over it. So you can just pretty easily pull out the lock in the edge of the door. But then you've got that pesky, really tall strike prep. Well, this strike height allows you to machine over that so that when you remove the deadbolt, the hook bolt, whatever you're removing, this is going to cover all of that, is the bottom line and what that's for. The extended description goes on to tell us that we need a 3/8 outside diameter template guide and a 1/4 inch diameter router bit as well, and that when you buy one, we'll ship you one. So let's switch to the screen view now and let's take a closer look at all the supporting information. If you've not hit subscribe yet, we would very much appreciate if you did, and hopefully you're enjoying this video. Now let's get back to it. So first, what I'd like to dive into will be the images that we have posted here, and here is the packaging, the template itself, showing it in elevation, so to speak. If you looked at the frame in elevation or the door, that's showing what would be the door, the edge of the door, or the rabbet of the frame. The backside, top view, fasteners, and your installation instructions. So going back to our extended description, these are the 3 strike types. So let's do this. 5,000. Okay, they said actually a 503, if you recall. 5,000 with a 503 faceplate. So the 503 faceplate's going to not be this one that's shown. Dimensional drawings. Let's look at that document first. Yeah, that's really showing us the standard. Let's take a look at the installation instructions. It may refer to the bigger faceplate. Yeah, it should. Here we go. So this is literally what we're prepping. 1.25 inch, 6 7/8, 11/16, 3 3/8. You can see the standard mounting tabs that are likely included with this strike. I believe they are. Require those holes top and bottom. So this template allows you to get not only the fixture temporarily put down to the edge or to the frame, but also you're pre-drilling the holes for your mounting tabs at the same time with this. So that's your 503. Okay. Now if we were to look at the other templates, we're going to find the same stuff. All these different series are going to take all those 3 different mentions with the 503 faceplate require this same template. Used when removing a deadbolt lock and replacing it with a dead latch. As we said, you're upgrading an opening to access control, and a really handy, relatively inexpensive way to do it is to add an electric strike. Remove what you have because it just doesn't work. The larger faceplate covers the long opening left by the deadbolt strike. Requires a router with a 3/8 outside diameter template and a 1/4 inch bit. We'll show you that in a moment. Let's hop over to Adam's right here. And they're telling us that it is for the really long strike prep. The deadbolt strike. Okay, well let's look and see. So in the catalog, we're going to find strikes. You've got a 4,000 strike, and that point is, the strike is already 4 7/8 tall on that. So that, is really not going to be a botheration. The trouble, however, is this. The center line of the lock body is already defined in the door. When you have the deadbolt in the edge of the door, the relationship between the center line of a deadbolt and the center line of the prep in the frame is A, or X. The relationship between the center line of a dead latch and the center line of its electric strike is going to be Y. And having to reposition it vertically on the door jamb is a reason why you would need a 5000 HES strike, but you might need it with the 503 faceplate. An application like that where you've got to cover it. Faceplate covers the long opening left by a deadbolt strike. It does. It does. That was 4 7/8 is that 4000 strike. So the installation instructions are here. Let's dive into those now. If you've not hit subscribe yet, we would very much appreciate if you did, and hopefully you're enjoying this video. Now, let's get back to it. Okay, let's dive into the installation instructions, which are here. And again, these are included with the tool. There's 12 pages in the instructions. Don't let that overwhelm you. Very large font, lots of pictures, 3 or 4 pages of just fluff in the sense of they come in every set of installation instructions. Instructions for the HIT-41 series electric strike templates. When using power tools, always wear eye and ear protection. I would add gloves, and I would add lung protection. I'd be wearing a dust mask as well. So really important, stop and read all the instructions. Your router must be equipped with a template guide prior to use. Failure to do so will result in the wrong size opening in the door or jamb and possible, guaranteed damage to your router template. Aluminum door templates require a 3/8 outside diameter template guide with a 1/4 inch diameter bit. That's really important, and I'll show you that as we scroll through here, is the bottom line. What they're saying here is when you are using your router, make sure that the router, when you turn the machine off, make sure it comes to a complete stop before removing it out of the template. Always route in a clockwise direction. A counterclockwise direction will cause the router bit to climb in the cut. That's because of the spiral shape of the bit that you're using. That's because of the rotation of the router itself. So always cut in a clockwise position. If you feel that you've missed a part, don't back up. Don't go backwards. Make a clean clockwise pass should you need to. All right, always wear eye and ear protection. So the router needs to be equipped with a 3/8 outside diameter template guide mounted in its base. That's the router guide right here, this piece of silver material. Failure to use this will cause the opening to be routed too large or too small, depending on what size you use. In the major catalog is a list of available guides. We'll show you what those are, meaning you need it to be 3/8, but they have three models, I think, for different routers. You're going to use a 1/4 inch diameter aluminum cutting router bit. I'll show you where that is from major as well. And secure tightly. Do not bottom the bit in the collet. Hold it about a 1/16 from bottoming. Adjust the router bit so it will route a 1/4 to 3/8 into the door channel. So you're going to let the bit stick past the wall thickness of what you're prepping. The electric strike being installed in the following demonstration is for an offset hung door. There are strike models available for offset hung and center hung doors. If mounting in a center hung jamb, be sure there is depth clearance for the strike. Our website has a complete listing of templates. Okay, so what they're saying is it's offset hung, which means it could be butts, it could be pivots, offset pivots, it could be a continuous geared aluminum hinge, a pin and barrel hinge. The point is that the difference between offset and center hung is important to note. And here's the difference. You've got a frame. Let's say that it's single acting. You could also just simply have, a cased opening frame. It could be that as well. Offset versus center hung has everything to do with where the vertical axis of pivoting is located. In offset, like a butt hinge, here's a butt hinge, right? Basically. The vertical axis of pivoting is offset from the face of the door a particular dimension, typically about 3/4 in a lot of instances. For 3/4 offset pivots, that's absolutely what it is. It could be 1.5 inches, but that's unusual. But it's a relationship to where the vertical axis of pivoting is from the face of the door. Now, if it's center hung, that means the vertical axis of pivoting is going to be down in the center, like this. Whereas here, okay, the vertical axis pivoting is offset. In here, it's the center of the door. Our center of a door is here. So when it's offset like this, then it's offset. So that would be the difference between those two. For height alignment, let the door close into the jamb. Okay, so let's dive into and start talking about exactly the steps to use this tool. If you've not hit subscribe yet, we would very much appreciate if you did, and hopefully you're enjoying this video. Now, let's get back to it. So what they get into when they move to this part of the installation instructions is actually showing you how to do the entire steps. So you have the lock installed in the door here, and they're actually using the latch bolt to give you the location by which to locate the center line, or the location of preparation for the electric strike. Now, you know, that obviously works, and people are going to do that. You do, in my opinion, need to know how to look at the template and determine the center line of the latch. I'm pretty sure that's just a 4510 that's here, based on the black nylon. Let's take a little closer look and see if we can look at the template for the 4510. It's important to be able to take the template and determine the location of your preparation without using the hardware as the guide by which to do it. Sorry, Adams 4510. Yeah, standard duty latch. Yeah, this is what they're prepping. So the template, this is more of a cut sheet, really. But it does give us the information that we need, in the sense of, what does it give us, actually? They give us a location of the center line of the latch from the center line of the cylinder. It is this dashed line here. It tells us it's center line, but we don't know that that's the center line of the lock, and I doubt that it is, actually. I don't believe it is. It's the center line of the latch is what they're saying. These dashed lines indicate center line. The problem with this is we don't know where to place that without some reference information. So if you have the center line of the cylinder, you can determine the center line of the latch. And then, if you recall, we were looking at the 5003 faceplate. We can't accurately determine the location of the prep with this either, because we don't know this if the keeper is centered within the space. So 3 3/8 is the cutout, but we don't know with our faceplate. 3 3/8, is the keeper right in the center of that? We simply don't know. It could be heavily inferred by the fact of the shape of the faceplate that it's certainly going to be the case, even though they don't tell us center line. And when some people call and say, you know, I need the hardware to actually prep the door and frame, you know, you should be able to derive everything off of a template. But at the end of the day, it is extremely nice to have that hardware. I'm not satisfied with this as the document, so let's dig a little deeper. Let's go to the Adams Rite website, and we'll do a search for 4510. Documents. Yeah, the same drawing we were basically looking at, and it doesn't give us any additional information. So if you're going to do this installation, you're going to start with knowing probably the center line of your cylinder, if you're going to do this fresh. Top of the door to the center line of the cylinder at whatever back set, great. You then know the adjustment to the center line of the latch bolt. You add center line plus 1 7/16. That's going to be top of the door to the center of the latch is this dimension plus 1 7/16. Okay, great. Now you're going to transfer that all to the frame, but what we really need to know is, where is the center line of the keeper on the electric strike? So let's see if we can do the same trick with the HES, or HIT entry systems. Also an ASA Abloy company, so the layout of their website, I believe, is the same. We'll go to their website, we will do a search for 5000. 5000 electric strike. The point I'm trying to make is we've not completely determined if we know where to install this. Okay, 5000 strike. It sure looks like it's centered, but I'd like to see it on paperwork. Literature. So you can make an extremely reasonable conclusion that the latch is centered inside of the 5003 faceplate. So let's say that your cylinder was at 44 inch plus 1 7/16, 45 7/16. The underside of the header to the center of this is going to be 45 9/16. If it was me and I was prepping a client's door, I would call the factory and say, where is the center line of the keeper in relationship to the center line of the faceplate? I would need to know that. You need to know that because it's not clear, number one. Number two, on the 4510, there is a deadlocking tab. So you have to make sure that the relationship between the center line of the latch and where the deadlocking tab falls is going to be compatible. What I'm saying is, on this 5003 faceplate, you've got to make sure that deadlocking tab is going to be riding here or here. So for me personally, I know the hardware and I know that it's in the center, but if I wasn't familiar with it, I wouldn't cut anything until I called the factory and got a confirmation that the center line of the keeper is the center line, is my strike center line. So that's what I would personally do. Now, they're just using the installed hardware as the guide, and that's obviously going to work. So you have your hardware striking the jamb, you're making a pencil mark, and you're taking your combination square and you're drawing those pencil marks out even further. You're transferring from the face of the frame to the rabbet. Okay, great. Now, with a combination square, establish the center line of the strike, meaning we have a vertical center line between these two lines. It'll be right between here. But they want you to strike a vertical center. When I said vertical, I mean top of the door to the center line. So let's say that's horizontal. And now a vertical center line down in the rabbet of the jamb. With a combination square, establish the center line of the strike. The door and strike need to have the same center line. For a standard 1 3/4 door, this dimension is 7/8 from the door stop if the lock is centered in the door channel. If the lock is off-center, adjust accordingly. The face of the electric strike and the face of the lock must be centered together when the door is closed. Okay, not exactly. Well, that argument certainly, that explanation works when you have a flush installation. A lot of aluminum storefront is flush, meaning the door and the frame are completely flush. You also have aluminum storefront where it's inset, where there's a dimension from the face of the frame to the face of the door. The important part is the center. If the lock is centered in the door thickness, which it almost always is, but not always, you need to have the same center line to the rabbet. What you have to account for, is there any inset, and what's the dimension here? So basically it's going to be center line, door to the center line of the prep, which you can measure, plus the inset would be face of the frame to the center line. If there is any inset, that would work. So what he's doing here is he's got his back set from the face of the frame to the center line. He has that tightened with this knob right here, and then he's just sliding that down with his pencil, his mechanical pencil, on the jamb. Now, what's great about that is a couple of things. You have these two horizontal lines. If you recall our etched lines in our template, bingo, that's what they're for. Then, the vertical center line is where you're going to drill for your mounting holes. Attach the HIT-41 template to the pencil marks and attach to the jamb using Tech Point drywall screws. Those are the screws that are included. It is a good idea to use a drill with a clutch feature, so you don't want to snap off the screw in the jamb. I don't generally snap screws off in the jamb, and if I do, it's because I wasn't being careful or I wasn't using a tech screw that didn't have a self-drilling point. Anyway, you want to set that really, really low so that you're not snapping anything off. Your clutch feature, that is. Some HIT-41 templates have one screw hole top and bottom, and some have two. Ours obviously has 2. The reason for that is those holes are going to align with the factory mounting tabs needed later. Some factory tabs have 1 and some have 2 holes. How many needed depends on the strike you are using. 1 screw top and bottom will hold the template. The second hole for the tab can be located by drilling a 9/64 drill bit or by using a second screw. So you now have the template completely attached to the frame. Back to our images, the back of the template also has, you're not going to be able to see it. Forgive me, you can't see it. I'm looking in the wrong place. So right here is an etched line. There's another one right up here. You can kind of see it's cut out right there. That etched line is what you're centering this vertical line on. I didn't mention that. I should have. So these etched lines, and then there's one here and here. Now they want you to use Tapmatic edge cream made by LPS. That's something that you can buy. That's something we sell. You're going to want that. It's going to allow the bit to cut with less tearing. It's going to help reduce the amount of chips that are flying off into the environment. It is going to help prolong the life of the cutting bit as well. So template mounted, ready to go. We recommend the area to be routed, lubricated with a cutting lube. Tapmatic edge cream. Adjust the router bit so it's 1/4 inch past the aluminum, just like shown here. They had mentioned that earlier. Place the router at the bottom of the template. You're doing the face first. You'll be routing the lip area first, rotating clockwise, starting at the bottom. Let the router come to full speed and route through the side of the jam. Be sure to hold the router flat against the template. Do not back up. Don't rock it at all. Just hold it firmly. Pressure this direction only and clockwise. Let the router, most important, let the router come to a complete stop before removing it. And this is what your first cut is going to look like. No, we did not route through the top of the lip area. That is no bueno. That's gonna cause, that is not the time to route that. What happens if you were to route through this? Your guide is going to leave and you might make unintentional contact with something. So at this point, you're going to go to the rabbet of the frame. And what's important to note is the height of the template itself is going to be adequate to get your router over the blade stop that will be there. This dimension right here is 5/8. So blade stops are typically 1/2 inch, but this is 5/8. The point being is your router will be beyond or above the stop. It's right here. That's the stop. This doesn't have a blade stop. This has a standard, probably a snap-on stop. You can see it better here. So you're now going to go to the rabbet of the frame and you're going to repeat the same process. Apply your lubricant, clockwise cut only. Let the router come to a complete stop. Don't back up, etc. At this point, you're good. You should probably, it's an extremely good idea to clean everything right now. They're using a brush. You know, yes, I would have, frankly, I use paper towels to wipe off, you know, the gunk, the cutting fluid that's there. You don't want to wipe it hard against your router base. You don't want to impregnate it with micro pieces of aluminum. You don't want to scratch it. You don't want to do that to your template. A superficial cleaning, get the aluminum slivers off. A shop vac is not a bad idea. I use that as well. After making the first pass, brush the chips away from the tool, clean the tool, make sure everything's clean, and then make a second pass should you need it. You probably will. It's a very small cleaning pass is really all it is. And at this point, remove the template from the jam. Clean everything now. Completely clean the jam, completely clean all of your tools, and in my opinion, this is when you stop and put the tools away. Clean them, put them back in their storage boxes, whatever it is, put them away. Now go to the next step. Any hand filing that you need to do, like maybe squaring a corner, this now would be the time. Deburring it, making it proper so that you can almost run your hand over it. Completely clean. Filing, don't forget to square off the corners. The 503 has square corners, yeah, or it has really small radius corners. Yeah, it's a radius corner, so you're not going to square the corners on it. Here's another thing, I don't know the radius. Hopefully it's 1/8 of an inch, because that's the bit that we're using. We're using a 1/4 inch router bit. You need to know that before you prep it. Aha, here we go. It's a 3/16. So 3/16 is no good because we're using a 1/4 inch diameter bit. That's an 1/8 inch radius. So our radius is going to be tighter than what's permitted our faceplate. You're going to have to adjust that a little bit. It's not just going to fit in. So something's going to have to change here. You're going to have to slightly, your 1/8 inch radius here is not going to work. So here's a 1/8 inch radius circle, basically. And this is what you're prepping with your router. This is what that faceplate's going to need. This is a 3/16 radius. So you're going to have to turn this into this by hand, is just the bottom line. You can't modify the faceplate because it's already too big. So your prep's going to have to get a little bit larger on that. Okay, not the end of the world. It's a detail that you do have to, no one's going to be looking at that. They address it. If installation calls for a rounded corner faceplate, lightly touch up this area with a round file. There you go. Get a rat tail file, and that's how you're going to do that. If installing a square edge strike, file it square. Now it's time to drill out the holes needed for the factory mounting tabs. Use a 3/16 drill bit for this job. The template in this case uses 2 mounting holes, top and bottom. Some strikes only require 1. Countersink the holes. You're probably going to want to absolutely have the fasteners so you know what size to countersink to. Have the appropriate countersink. You've drilled, you've countersunk your 4 holes. The prep is now complete. Now you're going to attach your mounting tabs, which will come with the HES strike. One nice thing about HES strikes is that you get the mounting tabs, I think, in most instances. What they're saying is leave the tabs slightly loose, like a 1/2 of a turn on the screw. I always do that on mortise lock bodies when I install them before I get the cylinder and the thumb turn and the trim. I leave that edge, the 2 12/24 screws in the edge of the door, always a 1/2 a turn loose. It's easier to get everything attached when it's all able to move just a little bit. Looks great, by the way. This is ready to go. Your strike, connect the wires and insert the strike into the frame. Connect the wires first, and then tuck all that in there. Attach your strike to the tabs. Tighten all of the screws here and here and here and here. Tighten these. Finished installation. That is all there is to it. It's really nice. Works really well. Okay, there's a link to the product brochure that's here now. Let's dive in and take a look at that. If you've not hit subscribe yet, we would very much appreciate if you did, and hopefully you're enjoying this video. Now, let's get back to it. Alright, the product brochure is going to show us related items to the HIT-41HS2, other templates that we're going to sell, other templates for other applications. So the question is, what electric strike are you prepping for? And then find that template. Now, there's a much easier way to just find that template. And let me show that to you now. There's a link below this video, as seen here, to the manufacturer's page. Click on that, and when you do, you will be able to pull up their product catalog. Let's fire that up. And by the way, on that page, you'll be able to review not only all of the major products we sell, by the link is seen here, but also their website link is here. Now back to the product catalog. You may have noted I copied that part number 5000. What I want to do now is Control F for a find function and type 5000. HES 5000. And, electric strike. Center hung. Well, we're not doing center hung. We're doing a 5000 5700 offset hung. Well, that might work. That's an HS1 they're telling us. So let's just go with that for right now. Let's just test that. So what I did was, it told me I'm doing a 5000 and I'm doing an HS1, but you're going to immediately note that it's the wrong faceplate. With the 5001, with the 501 AL faceplate, that's not what we're doing. So it's not the right template. Let's go back to our search. Here's the next search result, 5,000 offset hung. 6 7/8. Okay, I missed that. 6 7/8. Yep, that's the HS2. Let's find our HS2. There we go. That's the template that you need. The point is you repeat that procedure when you're looking for something, because, what I should have said right away, they have a cross-reference here. They have a chart of what are you prepping and what template do you need for it. There it is. Now, the first half of this catalog is basically security hardware, is really what it is. If you're a locksmith, if you're an integrator, if you're someone who services a hospital, a condo association, if you're just a weekend handyman, this material might be of great interest to you. Cylinder guards, latch protectors, sliding door locks, locksmith accessories, etc. The second half of the catalog is now going to be fixtures, jigs, and templates, almost everything under the sun for prepping doors and frames for hardware. Now, we had talked earlier about the router guides, and I was scrolling so I can get to the page. Router template guides. I mentioned that there were 2 or 3 of them. There are 3. You know by now that you need a 3/8 OD. Ryobi, Sears, Porter Cable. Porter Cable, the DeWalt, the newer model Craftsman. That's it right there. Doesn't matter whose router you have. I prefer Porter Cable, but I happen to be using Bosch lately. Long story. You just need to have 3/8 on the outside of this. If you've got that, you're in business. Then that router bit they were talking about, right there. Downshear bit. They talked a lot about that not going counterclockwise because of the rotation of the spiral. It's pulling the bit down as you route clockwise. If you go counterclockwise, it's going to serve to want to push the bit out of the work. They have up shear, down shear bits, depending on where you want the particulate to go. You would use an up shear bit if you're routing wood and you want to suck the chips out into your dust collection. They have complete kits of all this material as well. HIT-452. Lots of goodness here. If you're going to be doing this work, study the... if you're actually going to be doing the work, doing more than one, you're going to do it over and over again. There's no doubt that this entire kit is the HIT-45 clamp. You're going to need that immediately. You're going to need the template immediately. You're going to need the edge plate immediately. You may need the strike template immediately, and you're certainly going to need the face plates immediately if you're doing that. The security hardware it comes with, if you don't use it on the first job, you're going to be grateful to have it. Just because, wait a minute, I know I've got one of those. This will also do, this is for a center hung application as well as what this template is for. So the kits are nice. They're not inexpensive. Let's take a look at the HIT-452 in terms of a potential cost. Yeah. But if you take the cost and add all of it together, you're in good shape. One in stock. Okay, let's wrap up this video on camera. Okay, now at the end of the day, if you have any questions on the HIT-41HS2 or any other major product, please feel free to reach out to us. Major tools are, I'm very grateful for Major. That they exist. They're a company that we can buy stuff from. I'm grateful for their exceptional tech support. I'm grateful for their prompt, predictable, reliable shipping lead times. I'm grateful for their absolute expertise, tech support expertise. I'm grateful for the gentleman, for the 2 fellows that I've spoken to there, and the gal, and the lady, about just a well-oiled machine, a Tapmatic well-oiled machine. There are times when I see something and I don't know how it works, which is strange for me because I've been integrating hardware in the shop, in the field, for customers over the telephone, figuring it out on my own for decades. And there are times when I need to call Major and say, I can't get to the finish line, help me. And he just, within 5 words, he can answer the question. A self-professed tool nerd, the fella over at Major with an engineering background, an understanding of the problems that an installer is going to encounter out in the field, the ability to use machinery, and voila, you have templates meant for the installer, written by an installer, and it makes for a very potent combination of available products. So if you have any questions on anything Major related, feel free to reach out to us. There are times when there's more than one way to get to a solution with Major, like if you're prepping a mortise lock, a government 86 type mortise lock, there's more than one tool to get there. So if you're not sure the best route, feel free to reach out to us. And if I can't sort it out, I will absolutely contact the factory and get the right answer. Any questions on the HIT-41HS2 or any other Major product, please feel free to reach out to us. And thank you. Thank you for watching, and if you've enjoyed this video, please click thumbs up, please subscribe, and maybe even send the video to someone that you know. Thank you.